A new year brings new challenges, but the streets of Long Beach have forever been known as an almighty task to conquer. Welcome along to 2024, but to the IMSA iRacing Online Sports Car Championship, it's time to go for round number 4. Delighted to have you all along here on RaceSpotTV. It's our Junior Kenki party alongside with Lewis McLeod as we hope we don't descend in towards meantime, because boy, Lewis, is this one going to be interesting.
Sorry, you said that you hope we don't descend into meantime. That's the only reason I'm here. I saw this one appear on the schedule and I was like, absolutely, I'm going to come along. I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to watch this. I saw all of the brilliant racing that you had last week with all the red line drivers in France. We'll go with that. Honestly, this is going to be something very different.
Just a little bit, but we'll get into that in a few moments' time. Here's a look at that schedule, of course. 3 races already in the books, and now a bit of an American swing, of course, as we build up towards the iRacing Daytona 24, January the 20th, when our coverage of the 24-hour race will begin. But, of course, the second half of that season, still plenty to come after that. It's going to be quite fun, though, as we build up towards that, Lewis, the first special event of the year.
Yeah, exactly. You know, this is always the bit where you're getting yourself ready for what's in store for 2024. Drivers have switched teams, blah, 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 like all that's been prepared. But this kind of stuff is obviously, you know, very much outside of that. But if you are looking to do like the 24-hour of Daytona, kind of maybe starting to get used to the cars that you're going to use there. If you're in the LMP2s, if you're going to do the GTDs, a bit boring. Yeah, let's be honest. You want to jump into those prototypes. Let's be real.
Yeah, let's talk about those classes, because we had a lot of fun in IMSA esports with 2 of the classes, but we decided here in the IMSA iRacing series, let's bump that 3rd one in just for the fun of it. Of course, we've added the Audi R8 LMS Evo in the most recent iRacing build as well, and the way the splits have turned out in terms of numbers are going to make things quite interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be this is going to be very much lopsided towards the GTPs. We're going to see a lot more of those. I think something like 20 or so out on the grid in that GTP category, which has been consistent throughout the week as well. LMP2s, sort of a bit of a middling pack. If you wanted to get into top split, I would have always recommended to jump into the LMP2s because that's the weaker one of the lot. Although to be fair, GTDs aren't looking particularly strong around here either. So who knows?
Yeah, well, I think this is one where maybe GTD drivers are like, I don't want to put myself in harm's way, because they know exactly what is going to happen. Let's take a look at the track map. We can talk about some of the challenges that we have in store for the drivers who have still 2 minutes of qualifying left to run, and an important qualifying session by themselves, because we are, of course, on the coast of the United States. first started as a Formula 1 Grand Prix, transitioned over to IndyCar, but now, of course, hosts endurance racing as well. And the tight confines, the fountain, it's one of those bumpy tracks that is very difficult to master.
And honestly, it is one of my favourite tracks on iRacing. I am not joking. When it came, I've raced it quite a lot, particularly in touring cars, mostly in those TCRs, but it's such a fun track to race around. I don't necessarily think that too many of the drivers will think this race is going to be too much fun, because I think it is going to be dramatic. It is going to be hard work over the 45 minutes, making sure you're keeping it out of those barriers, which, let's be honest, if you brush, oh yeah, you're basically out.
And, well, one thing that you do have to keep in mind is there's the possibility over the 45-minute race, Lewis, to maybe save a bit of fuel and avoid a trip down pit lane, which is going to be somewhat important. Before you even get to a pit stop, though, we have to come to the reality, which is the start. All three classes start at the same time, which means that two of the classes likely to start before they even get into the hairpin.
Exactly, and I've seen that already quite a bit. Thankfully, I don't race in the GT3s. I've done a race in the GTPs, in those in the prototypes where it's fine. But in the LMP2s, I watched the race start earlier on, and it was tricky. Let's go with that. Like you say, you are racing going into the final corner. Very scary. Like you say, though, to touch on it very briefly, you can save enough fuel. If you save, I think it's about 0.2 to 0.3 of a litre a lap, which is quite a lot, yes, but around here you can definitely do it. If you're saving about that much a lap compared to normal pushing, you can absolutely get your way through the race without stopping.
Well, I think that's going to be qualifying in the books, and Casey Kerwin takes a pole position by almost 0.4 of a second. That's going to see him bring us to the green at the front of the field. The margin in qualifying in the rest of the classes, not as large by any means. Probably not much time to run you down through today's starting grid, so let's jump on over to the GTP class and begin that cycle on through. Casey Kerwin may have left EXA officially, but he flies the flag for them still to kick off 2024. He'll be alongside Norbert Tamish with George Brabner and then Lenny Pippinter on the second row of the starting formation. Isaac Fairweather and then Dominic Gumplier in a pair of Porsches line up on the third row of the starting formation, with 7 seeing Matthew Roberts, 8 Quinton Dupuis, and then Thorsten Ulrich and Christopher DeMay on the edge of the top 10. Noah Rail from Cano will be alongside Jack Buser on the 6th row of the starting formation, with Casper Ullmann, Matthias Kraus, Neil De Backer, Giuseppe Guarino, Casper De Court from the Ivra series, of course, and Niels Baukarj through the top 18. That's, of course, all GTPs. Luca Morelli, of course, joins them as well. Not as many of the spec LMP2 class, where Thomas Barberi lines up alongside Jake Puttock, but just 94 thousandths between the two of them. Dan Kell in those Zanjo colours is alongside Dan Ferron, with Lucas Poppel and Lionel Mays on the third row of the grid for this class. You've got the 17, the 41, the 28, the 40, and the 38 and the 45 all behind them. I'm not just skipping through those names, but I'm also trying to get over to the GTDs. Lewis, don't throw me under the bus like that. Kevin Gouchard, Stefano Darciki, D'Angelo David, Miguel Angel Fonseca, Rasmus Thompson, and then Philip Bereswell through the top 6 here. And then just a handful more cars. Conrad Senbert, Jamie Nuttall, Christopher Pays, Chris Ferragarnio, Jamie Hamlin, and then Denzel Clarkson through the top 12. Liam Giles and Jose Herrero, the final cars in the starting formation. I'm impressed I got through all of them,
well
Lewis.
Done.
They're just about to roll.
45 cars, all in the blink of an eye, basically, as we begin this roll. And it's not a full formation up. You start on the back stretch, you run through the penultimate, that final sector, go through the hairpin, and then we'll see the race start. Into reverse, for some reason, goes Casey Kerwin as he backs onto the nose of George Brabner. Shout out to George Brabner. Hopefully we're not going to get a hashtag George moment in this race. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Don't forget, you can follow along with timing at timing.racespot.tv. You can follow along with news at racespot.news as they get ready to go for the 45 minutes of action. So 18 GTPs, 12 LMP2s, and then 14 of the GTD cars. They are all, I think, going to start single file, which is maybe not an unwise decision.
They'll go through the hairpin in single file, and then they'll go. I think, by the way, the race that was previous, Thorsten Ulrich won, I believe that was on a no stop, by the way.
Ooh, interesting. Well, no stop's definitely viable, and as they begin to filter 2x2 at the front, Casey Kerwin sees the green fly on the streets of Long Beach. LMP2 going to get underway before they're into the hairpin as well, and so as Kerwin will lead the hybrid storm, LMP2 GTD's trying to just stay out of trouble. Tamas slides his way forward into second, hold that spot as through the fountains the leaders work. LMP2 starts safely. Hopefully GTD has as well.
Yeah, Brabner's let me down. There's a big crash though towards the back end of the GTPs. An enormous one there. I'm not 100% sure as to how many have been involved in it, but it is a huge crash on the exit or through the middle of the fountain section. So that's already taken out 3 or 4 of them at least.
And I think there was a couple of moments in GTD as well, but for the most part, they stay clean and green with, at the front, a bit of a breakaway maybe building for a handful of the Porsches. Opening lap, though, where the tyres also yet to come up to temperature on the bumps. You've got to be so careful as a battle for 4th and 5th position. I think George Brabner under pressure.
Yeah, I know that Brabner was talking to me earlier and he was saying that he is definitely not going for a no-stop strategy, but still maybe just bringing the car up to temperature and stuff. I don't know, science. I will say from the GTDs, you can see plenty of 2 and 3 wide in the background. In the GTDs, it was 3rd in class on the qualifying. Dandolo David, who is one of those retirements already from the category. So despite qualifying well, clearly got into something on the first lap.
Oh, and as the 21 slams into the wall, already had lost the front end of that car. That is big damage, and that's before traffic's played its part, so we'll have to cycle through some replays. Kerwin leads at the end of the opening lap, though, by 1.7 seconds, and then you got the rest of the drivers cycling in behind. I get the sense, though, the first cycle through traffic, we know it's always the most frenetic. It will determine whether Casey Kerwin in the lead goes for the no-stop or not.
Exactly, and like I said, yesterday he was doing his streaming and stuff. He messed up one of the qualifying sessions, had to start from basically the rear of the GTP field, and was saying that he was going to no-stop. He was like, no, I'm going to no-stop, I'm going to no-stop, I'm going to no-stop. And then eventually was like, actually, do you know what, I'm already basically leading in class, so I'm not going to bother, as we'll take a look at what happened on the start of the GTDs as to how that one unfolded. Oh my goodness.
And now we know why that Audi has no front end, and why, well, David Dendolo is in the wall, and that undercut liveried machine tries to spin it around, but I think that car was done.
Yeah, by the way, been a switch of positions. Isaac Fairweather's worked his way past into 4th position now in the GTP category. Just a couple of mistakes coming in from Brabner, and he is having a couple of #George moments. So it's not a commentator's curse, that is bad driving. But still, you got that Porsche working its way forward. I did notice in the previous race, I believe it was Fairweather, who actually got into contact in a large crash with Phil Krause, unfortunately, in this one.
Oh, and blame Phil for not being in this one. That's what happened through the fountain for DeMay and for Noah Rail. So that was a couple more moments. But outside of that, relatively clean start. It was very, very uncomfortably close, I think, there for David Dendolo to run into the back of his teammate. Fortunately, they were able to hang on. George Brabner still under pressure, though, as Fairweather tries to break away. Now, another one of the Porsches, which traditionally maybe not the car that you think best suited to riding over the bumps, does seem to be running pretty well, trying to now run down the back straight in towards the penultimate set of corners.
Yeah, like I say, it's Brabner that's dropping backwards at the moment. I'm not sure. I was going to wonder if there was any fuel saving going on, and maybe that was why, but I actually don't believe so, as we ride on board with the 15 heading down into this final sector and into the hairpin. I don't believe there's much fuel saving happening really from anyone in this category. There's not any major lifting and coasting. By the way, shout out to the Ferrari in the background. That's hilarious.
It's an interesting livery. That's Matthew Roberts, isn't it?
Yeah, honestly, fair enough. Power to you. If there's one way to get the Ferrari on the sim, yeah, that's how you do it.
It's a Cadillac, isn't it?
It is indeed a Cadillac.
I was trying not to look at my timing screen to figure that out by the look. He didn't do a bad job of the livery, didn't do a great job of maybe hiding the car itself. Check in with the LMP2s, because they're basically all still Lewis in one long line behind your race leader. No real swap arounds inside the top 5 so far.
Yeah, and I know with absolute certainty that the number 20 of Dan Kell, for one, is looking to try and get a decent result, because he said that every time me and you commentate on him, he has a disaster, as he had in the Formula Fords. Not our fault, that's his fault. But he is definitely on a no-stop in this race. He is absolutely going to no-stop, and he did win the previous race on a no-stop by a long way. I think it was like 13, 14 seconds that he won the previous split. So interesting to see where he might end up in this one.
And so I think this LMP2 class is going to be quite fun, because they're all basically the same. I'm guessing in terms of setup, there's not much you're going to do differently either, right? You're probably all going to want as much compliance on the bumps and as much downforce as well. So don't think there's going to be too much of a difference there. While they're battling for about 4th on back in the GTPs, Casey Kerwin has gotten into the GTD traffic for the first time, already with a 3-second advantage. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, he definitely ain't saving fuel. I can tell you that for free. He's definitely not saving fuel. I'm still, every time I see Casey Kerwin, I'm like, oh, he's had a bit of a crash ahead of him as well. That's scary. with a couple of the GTDs coming together. There's a bit of a spin there in the background, and so he's had to navigate that one without any major drama. It was Guillaume Hamling that was the one that had spun round. You see him there, as there's been more crashes behind.
And that's the Ferrari. That's almost been into the wall. And Casper Ullman, I think now on the outside, going around, almost got loose on the bumps, trying to squeak on through. So a couple of moments down at what is a tricky turn 5. My brain went into repeat there for a second. Here's a look at the replay for the first thing.
Yeah, indeed. So we'll just see Guillaume. I think it's just going to be a little bit too much on the inside. I think he might have clipped the wall potentially with the rear left. Maybe, if not, just maybe a bit too much speed going into the corner. And now we'll see what happens to the Ferrari. Oh, got absolutely sent. Now that is a Ferrari strap.
Well, I mean, that's also being sent into the wall, and the rear wing magically reappears. So fortunately, the racing god smiling down there. But Matthew Roberts, I think, lost 4 positions from where he started, but I think had an even better start than that. If you check in with Casey Kerwin, he's almost through most of the GTTs, now just has a handful at the front to pick his way through one by one. This traffic has relieved some of the pressure on George Brabner in that 5th position, though, as Fairweather and now Tamas getting closed up by a couple of the traffic moments.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is the whole thing. The traffic around here is really, really tricky. I think Brabner, whilst he's been a bit fortunate previously, he's not going to get quite as fortunate on the rear end of Jamie Nuttall, who is now made past as he'll once again continue out on this stretch. If there's a circuit which I don't like doing traffic around, it is here. Because around these kind of sections, you're not actually that much faster than the GTD. So there's going to be a big send down the inside going into the hairpin. They've got to be ultra compliant, and you barely have the lock to get around there at the best of times. That was a tricky moment.
If George Brabner didn't get a 0x contact with the wall there, I will be surprised. You could probably not have fit a piece of paper there. You talk about traffic here. The part of the reason why they're so much better, the GTDs in the corners, they have anti-lock brakes. They have traction control on exit, so they can go through the corners better. Even though the GTPs have downforce, they're not going fast enough to really activate it.
They're worse drivers. That's obviously not.
You are clearly not a prototype driver.
Obviously it's tricky to get around here at the best of times. But like I say, when it comes to lapping those GTDs, it is really tricky. The thing is, the biggest pace advantage, if you're in a GTP, particularly, less so in the LMP2s, but if you're in a GTP, the biggest pace advantage that you're going to get over the GTDs is on the exit of a corner. That's where you use the power, and that's how you can get through. It's not necessarily in the downforce working your way through the corner. It is all on that exit, and that's where we've seen. That's where, generally speaking, if you're going to pass lap traffic around here, that is how I would do it. Is on the exit of corners. So don't dive bomb people.
Don't dive bomb people, indeed. I think LMP2s are going to be next up in the line to fire past those GTD drivers, who, by the way, are, with the exception of Dendelo David, who crashed on the start, all still running after the first cycle of GTP traffic. Let's see if that holds true after the second wave of the prototype traffic in the form of those P2s.
Speaking of the LMP2s, I did see that Papa Cal has joined the chat. Obviously, Steve Cal in the chat, keeping an eye as to what his son's doing. And at the moment, he's not doing anything stupid, which is a great sign.
Yes, but no livery, so 0 out of 10.
What do you mean? No. You're talking to George Brabner. No,
oh, wait, you're right.
Dan Kell. I'm talking to Dan Cow's got a livery because he's got the Zamshow one.
No, I got confused. I think some of our images at the start weren't quite working, and so I'm trying to add up exactly who is in what car.
Brabner definitely doesn't have.
I called out the Zancho livery on Kel's car as well.
Did.
Oh,
you
right.
Absolutely did.
Goodness
you
gracious
absolutely
me.
did. Done by Matt Richards, if I remember correctly. It's actually quite a nice livery.
Now, does that livery have highlights if they've got multiple cars?
I don't believe so.
Okay, so it's not a good livery.
So it's not a good livery. No, you're absolutely right. But at least it looks different. It's not black, red, and well, whatever. And it's not white, blue, and grey.
Yes, no. Have you seen the Toyota WRC car for this year?
Oh, don't get me started.
I mean, at least it's different, Lewis. At least it's different. You asked for it.
It looks better on some cars than it does on others, but for the most part it still looks pretty trash. The thing is, I didn't need to, like, when it comes to like distinctive liveries, it already looks quite different to everything else anyway.
Yes, but I guess the thing is they wanted to do something different, and well, that was a Toyota livery. On board with Dan Kell, by the way, as traffic's a bit of a factor, and I think there may have even been a small incident through the hairpin for a couple of the cars, given some of the gaps that are starting to build as a result of it. There you go. Oh my goodness, there is now 4 seconds behind to what is a huge little group as they go 3 wide into turn number 1.
Oh my goodness me, that is terrifying, and there's been one into the barrier as well. That'll be the likes of Jose Skule that's gone into the barrier just a little bit on the exit of T1. And I think going out wide is Lucas Popple, and he might be passed by Reza O'Hara.
So have we settled down?
Oh my god, absolutely not.
No, definitely not, it would seem. You can see how many of the front ends of those Spec Dalaras now have damage, by the way. They are definitely in need of repair. Dan Kell's up to 2nd through the traffic as well, because I think your race leader now with a 1.5 second advantage. Kell not willing to hang around. You've got 2 more cars in this queue, only going to get one of them in towards that penultimate corner, but an important move there.
Yeah, it was Jake Potok was a little bit too cautious in traffic, and Dan Kell slot the gap, made his way through into 2nd place. And like I say, I know there's a lot of fuel saving going on in that Dallara, and I'm pretty sure there might be quite a lot of fuel saving games going on in this grouping as well. I would be surprised if I'd say half the grid. I wouldn't be shocked if half the grid were doing the race on a no-stop strategy. This is, at least in my opinion, from what I know, the LMP2 is the easier one to make race distance without stopping.
Yes, but you would ideally like to be in some draft to try and save some fuel. So maybe Dan Kell now has to burn a little bit of fuel to try and save a bit of fuel. It's a fun little conundrum to be in. Let's go ahead and take a look at what happened in towards that final corner at the hairpin. And it's not going to be with GTDs. In fact, it's just tripping over one another, and then as they played Skittles with one another, 3 wide on corner exit. Yeah,
that would be Lucas Popple that was sent around, that we were taking a look at there. And like you say, it just led to all of this. This is just honestly some of the craziest stuff. You don't typically see 3 wide around Long Beach, but in this, yeah, why not?
And then it was a big old whack into the wall for the orange LMP2 car, but managed to get away clean from there. Another replay to take.
It's all kicking off, mate, as well.
It is, because I think our GTD leader unfortunately got tagged up in something with the GTPs in the penultimate corner. Oh, that's a very ruined Lamborghini.
Yeah, and I'm not going to lie, there was some more. I don't know if this was the same instant, but I was watching quite a lot from the LMP2s working their way through. They spun round one of the GTDs. It just got really, really poor. This is so difficult. When you've got 45 cars out on circuit trying to reverse and get back on, this Porsche gets absolutely sent in the penultimate corner. Get ready for this one. Good day. Bye.
Oh, I mean, to be fair, that other prototype's got absolutely no control of the steering, but to that point should probably not be trying to go through those final couple of quarters. So it is all kicking off. Dan Kell still feels the pressure from Jake Potok as 2 of the Audis in front go side by side, and Kell gets squeezed by one of the Porsches. Whoa. Oh, and now contact on exit. There'll be 3 wide for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where you do need the triple screens to actually understand what's going on. That was very scary indeed, trying to get it back down. 3 wide going into the right-hander at the end of the back stretch, and they work their way through somehow without an enormous incident as we ride on board with Jamie Nuttall.
I mean, this is ridiculous. Look at the damage on the Porsche in front of him as they just try and get the power down on that final corner. It's so tight, it's so twisty. 45 started, we're now down to, I believe, 38 left and running, and that's before you get into the first 15 minutes of this race complete. Cycling past comes some more of the LMP2 traffic. Casey Kerwin, if you're curious, 7.5 seconds clear at the front.
He's gone. He's absolutely gone. Which, let's be honest, no one's shocked by. Absolutely not surprised to see Casey Kerwin clearing off into the distance so quickly. But still, you've got to deliver, and maybe the fuel games will play a part in all that. Of course, Torsten Ulrich, I'm saying here, you heard it a little bit there into T1, a little bit of lift and coast. I'm absolutely sure that Ulrich will be running this to a no-stop, as he did, I believe, in the previous race.
So how long was the pit lane delta, though, Lewis?
Oh, I can't remember. You think I know those stats?
I mean, apparently, you're a 2-time award-winning commentator.
You're a 2-time award-winning commentator. You cheat the system, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
I mean, you cheated the system first.
You wait till my 8-minute TikTok comes out. We'll be having a discussion.
How many T-shirts are you going to get as a result of that TikTok?
Well, hopefully at least 1 or 2. Okay. I don't think I'm going to get one from Apex, though. They might get thrown under the bus a little bit. Sorry, Apex.
Oh, I did put that picture up, didn't I? Anyway,
that's true.
That's a look from George. I think up the inside, backs out of it on fair weather. Now they're coming back up on some of the GTD machines once again, and so off of the hairpin. Brabner's going to have a look. That was almost a hashtag blame George moment.
That was nearly a hashtag George moment. Generally, that was terrifying. He does a lot of stuff for feeder series when it comes to writing articles and stuff for GB3 and Formula 4 UAE and things like that. I think he's been learning from them with moves like that. That was almost very reckless indeed. He's able though to hang on to 5th place, and like I say. That was a bit scary.
More LMP3 articles, I think, than anything else.
That did feel very dentist-worthy, yes, absolutely.
Speaking of dentist, by the way, we've got the iRacing Raw coming up before the Daytona 24.
Indeed.
That's going to be crazy because LMP3, GT4, and I think it's TCR?
Yeah, exactly. I'd almost be tempted to do it in a TCR, I'm not going to lie. You know me with TCRs. I probably won't, because I'm not talented enough or something.
I mean, we knew that.
That's true. That's
why we're here.
Look, it's fine. I've lost a fair amount of iRate in the last couple of days. It's okay. It's absolutely. I'm not salty. You're salty.
I feel that pain. Oh, Thorsten Ulrich all over the curb on the inside. I will say this is not a track that I particularly would want to race at if I was considering my iRating, something that is going to be quite important going into some of those special events.
Let me tell you a story as to when I gained iRate. It was around here. It was when the TCRs came here.
Oh yes, you've told this story before.
Exactly. It was when it was just the Audi TCR, and they came here, and almost no one did it. And I was actually not that bad. I was 1.9k iRated when the week started, and I started driving it on the Friday. And over Friday and Saturday, I did quite a few races. Fair enough, but I was 3.2k by the end of Saturday. That is 1.4k gained in like a day and a bit.
Not bad.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. That was basically me back when you could gain oval iRating when it went to the road courses.
Like Watkins, whatever.
And so basically it was a week that Charlotte Roval ran around, and it was the new one, the fun one in my opinion. I was like, yeah, I like this. And I was faster than basically everyone with the exception of like Casey Kerwin, who still stomped me, to be fair, but he was stomping me less than he was stomping on other people. And so it was a nice little iRating bump to where I'm not I think I'm 3,500 oval iRating. I promise you I'm not that good. No, definitely not. GTDs, by the way, outside of the leader being taken out, it really hasn't seen too much action. Rasmus Thompson leads from Miguel Angel Fonseca. Conrad Senber is then in 3rd with Philip Bereswell in 4th. And Christopher Pais behind them. But yeah, LMP2 stretched out slightly. Dan Kell still trying to chase your race leader down. Now that we've seen a couple of cycles of traffic, it's being a little bit more common. All of this stop and start as Ulrich almost runs into the back of the Porsche.
Yeah, exactly. This is where the race will, and I'm going to use very significant air quotes here, will calm down. Again. Okay. Big air quotes, because like the thing is, the traffic spread out, the groups themselves are spreading out. That does not mean that we are going to be crash free to the end of the race. Absolutely not. You're looking at the order now. Quite a few of these are going to get taken out before we reach the checkered flag. Fair enough, but it's just the constant nature of those crashes is going to be slightly lower as we're seeing some defensive moves coming in. Thorsten Ulrich trying to keep Jack Buser behind, whilst also trying to work his way up the order.
I've never felt more tense, ever. I will be completely honest. And Lewis, you and I, we've commentated on some fairly high-level events, but genuinely, I've never done Buser off to pit lane, that's a very smart call. I've never just felt so nervous seeing some of these jinks left and right the drivers make into corners with traffic.
I'm trying to think of what the tensest that I've been watching, or at least commentating on a race. Probably ISOWC.
That was not... For the wrong reasons, probably.
Was it Fontana, wasn't it? Yeah, like that. That was like, oh my goodness me, Thorsten Ulrich. Wow, that really caught me out. That was an unbelievable send.
Out of nowhere, and it's not done because you can see in front George Brabner's closing on Isaac Fairweather with more LMP2 traffic, which is fairly similar in terms of pace. Still side by side as they come onto what is a crucial right-hander. You can cut so much of that, and Ulrich takes advantage. The Porsche concedes for the time being.
That was really nice on Gumpelmeyer. But I will say, I mean, the pair of them played that brilliantly. It's kind of one of those ones when you're sending that down the inside. Torsten Ulrich, I mean, I've known him race quite a lot of touring cars and stuff like that. That was a proper touring car move. Yeah, if you get that one wrong, the likelihood is they're going to turn in on you. And to be fair, Gumpelmeyer didn't, and that was the important bit. Was actually let there be room on the inside and let the racing unfold. Great racing between the pair of them. Top tier.
It was top tier. We have an indication now, by the way, of how long you lose on pit lane as a result of Booster's pit stop. He spent 43 seconds cone to cone. Now, working that out in terms of pit stop loss, it's probably a little bit more than that because it's not an easy pit entry by any means. And so I think that means Casey Kerwin needs about that margin to the rest who are not coming down pit lane, as we see what is another 4-car train, by the way, in this GTP class.
Yeah, but that's also running from cone to cone. Then you have to take out the time between, like, essentially cone to cone, but on the racetrack and the average spin. Blah, 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 blah. Let's just call it 45 seconds. Okay? Deal.
Okay, easy.
Right, fantastic. Like I said, that's the kind of gap that he's looking to gain right now. I think it's too early to tell who's actually stopping. I would say from what I'm seeing pace-wise, I would say quite a lot of the GTPs are coming into the pit lane. I'm not seeing much fuel saving. I
did kind of wonder what are the conditions like. Well, they're pretty cold. I'm not sure how this compares to some of the other races the drivers have been doing, but yeah, cold.
Ulrich's in.
Ulrich's in. Ooh, interesting.
So yeah, he definitely isn't. It isn't no stopping then, and you can kind of see like. Trundling down pit lane, a little bit of damage on. I was going to bring up like a big thing of like, oh, he's got damage on the car, and then I'm kind of thinking, I'm like, I think everyone has damage on the car.
Less damage than some of those other machines, let's be fair.
That's true, that is true. He has rolled through quite a few very broken race cars. But yeah, so like I say, the 45 seconds, fair enough. I think everyone's stopping.
I think Casey Kerwin's definitely stopping.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's pushing way too hard.
Casey Kerwin needs a new livery, by the way.
Yeah, he does. Has he signed for a new team yet? I've not really paid attention.
No, because technically eNASCAR has free agency, which is slightly different than what we have on the road side of things, right? Where you might have a team, like there are a lot of oval drivers that race for Altus behind the scenes, but compete for other teams in eNASCAR. So I think we'll find out in a few weeks where Casey's future homes and future endeavors lie.
Yeah, indeed. Hopefully it'll be a good team. Hopefully it'll be a team that I don't hate.
It should be a team. I'm just saying it. It should be a team where Casey does more road racing.
Nice.
I mean,
read into that what you will.
He's a winner in IMSA Esports now.
Is this you saying that you do kind of know where he's going?
Oh no, absolutely not. I'm just saying. Okay. I think I want to see Casey do more of this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, like. When you've been the solid driver that you are on oval racing, but having won eNASCAR and all of that, and then you do the road course racing. Everyone always says that in eNASCAR the best driver on road course racing is Casey Kerwin. We all kind of we've all heard that 1,000 times. To clarify and to quantify how good that is, he's 9.5 KI rated at the moment, and it's constantly going up. And he's not even doing it in the wimpy way that I've seen Moritz Lerner doing it. He was too much of a wimp to do this, by the way, because he's too busy racing GT4s around Daytona.
Oh, wow.
He's like 10.6, 10.7 KI rated at the moment. He keeps building it up. What a wimp.
So you mean Moritz he's doing Lerner, GT4 at Daytona, but didn't want to come and do the IMSA Open Challenge that we had? Shaking my head.
Exactly.
Look at these drivers farming iRating.
An absolute wimp. Like I say, whoa, George Brabner, hello. Someone who, I don't think he's really farming iRating at the moment. Not with that end.
He is 5.2k, which is not bad, to be fair.
It's not bad. Not bad. I was bitterly disappointed when I found out he had 5.2k, right? Because I knew him about a year before he told me that.
Oh, he's going to go for it on fair weather, though, up the inside of the Porsche, who fights back around the outside. Might have clipped the tyre bundle on the right front clip of the car, but through the fountain, status quo remains behind an LMP2 machine. George is definitely not driving for iRating, that's for sure, nor safety rating.
No, he did do a race. Oh, God, he keeps taking that curb really aggressively, and I've seen him end up in that barrier. I'm pretty sure that's where he ended up in the barrier in the race that he did earlier on in the week. I think he did a race yesterday, maybe the day before, and lost quite a bit of iRating in doing so, because I'm pretty sure at the start of the week he might have been like 5.4 or something like that vein. But he's not racing like anyone that's like really driving conservatively to gain SR or II. He's on the attack. Here is George Brabner, and he's not caused a hashtag George moment just yet, but I have fears. Oh, wow, look at that stretched image. That was excellent.
That's a lot
terrible
of lock.
Terrible broadcast direction.
It's a lot of lock from the LMP2 machine as it gets onto the binders, but it's allowed a bit of a separation for Fairweather once again. Brabner and Gumplier swoop on through, but not going to fight with now 20 minutes left to go in this one. So hypothetically, traditionally when we do have races where you have pit stops, you would come in no later than probably like 5 minutes to go. It does mean we've got a long way to go before we know for sure, but Lewis, that's kind of the range, what we got to wait for.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, if you're doing a little bit of fuel saving, like, I think when I did a race in the GTPs earlier on in the week, I'm pretty sure I pitted. Oh, that was in fixed in the mind. I'm pretty sure it was like with 5 minutes to go. So, and from what I've seen in this, it is generally that sort of 5 to 10 minutes to go. If you're pushing really hard, it's generally around like 10 minutes to go where you pee. But you actually do inadvertently save quite a lot of fuel around here just in traffic because you can't burn it to the maximum. So the idea, realistically, yeah, you're probably going to see them pit with about 5 minutes left to go, which is why it's possible to do a no-stop, right? Because to save 5 minutes of fuel in 45 minutes, whilst it is tricky, yes, it is very possible.
Just get better at saving fuel, mate.
Exactly.
Yeah, good.
Exactly. Hey, I'm just going to say at the Spa 20, we're not going to talk about the crash.
Okay.
But the Spa 24, I was the best on fuel in our car by a long way, and I set the fastest lap of the entire car. We're not going to talk about conditions either.
Okay.
But,
okay. Fine.
How
many fast repairs?
Well, we had none because it was the.
True, it was a special event. Sorry, I had to ask the question. You knew.
I could have done with one, but I still feel like they'd have been stolen by you somehow.
I wasn't in the car, so it would have been a miraculous feat.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said somehow. Oh, yeah.
Miraculous feat that I would have accomplished. Even I could not do that.
It'll be really good to do this race with Cam Roger, with Dan Kell, with Lewis McLeod, and let's bring our tuner into it. He won't use any of the fast races. He's a solid driver, isn't he?
Questionable.
The biggest mistake I've ever made.
I mean, the thing is, as there goes George up the inside of Fairweather, and I think potentially are going to squeeze through as well, but contact definitely door to door. Fairweather says, I'm fair, letting one of you through, not the both of you go. Wow, it was maybe a bit more aggressive than I thought it might be.
Yeah, I mean, look, Fairweather allowed Brabner to pass there, no doubt. I think maybe got sick of having Brabner attacking constantly around the circuit. Was like, just get on with it, mate. As we'll see some side-by-side a bit further down as Torsten Ulrich's trying to work his way up the order, gets past Boozer, who obviously made a stop earlier on in the race. By the way, speaking of Isaac Fairweather, what do you think of his car? It's like it's Porsche if it was Australian. Or John Deere, because it is a John Deere.
I was going to say, is John Deere Australian?
No, but it's because it's green. Oh, Brabner's gone! Hashtag George moment!
It's happened! Oh, goodness. Oh.
He's in 8th now.
Is that going on Twitter?
Oh, absolutely. Honestly, no, like, within 5 minutes of this race being done, I'm not going to start editing it now.
I was going to say, you could probably just start the screen recording. Should we go right on board? Because I think you had said something quite a few times about curb usage.
Oh, yeah.
That I think finally paid off.
Yeah, he just used too much of it. It was it's kind of, I think it's in that kind of like fine margin of like, if he'd actually used more of the curb, I think it wouldn't have spun. And had he used less of the curb, it wouldn't have spun. But the fact he used exactly that much of the curb, he is lucky to get away without damage, by the way.
He is. He also seemed like he might have even been a little bit loose before he got onto the curb, which might just be the way that you take the corner and then the curb exacerbates it. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Hashtag blame George.
Oh, it's just a hashtag George moment, mate. Hashtag George moment. So that's fine.
See, but I can't merchandise that on the RaceSpot store.
No, that's true, but it's more for the feeder series people, so they can spam it all on their Discord.
Okay.
Great at writing articles for feeder series. Clearly a mid-tier driver.
Yes, but with higher I rating than the both of us, so
true.
Unfortunate.
That is true.
We need to go do some GT4 at Daytona to farm some I rating with Moritz Lohner.
Clearly. I think, to be fair, I did some GT4s at Silverstone International, and I've uploaded a video recently.
I mean, Will Chadwick thinks they're better than GT3 machines.
Honestly, I actually really enjoyed driving it. I thought that was good fun. I took the BMW round. The way they were sliding, I was like, this is pretty solid.
I'm not going to say which GT4 manufacturer it is that I heard the story about, but I heard a story about a GT4 manufacturer where the longer you drive it, It gets to a point where just a slight shimmy of a certain cable mean the brakes no longer work.
Oh, good.
That's a terrifying thing to think. Was it brakes no longer work? No, it was no electrical power. It's even more scary than that.
Ow.
Yes.
Ow, 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 ow.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. On board with Kel, by the way, because battle for third as more of the GTP's pit. George Brabner, latest of them to dive down to the lane, has come down to within 1.8 odd seconds in the front three here.
Oh, I mean, do you know what? He missed his box as well. But he
Did
missed
he?
his box in the most. He missed his box in the most embarrassing way possible.
Do we need to go look at a replay?
Oh, it was a light miss, so I wouldn't say it's worth it. But I'll tell you now, he missed his box because he stopped too early.
Did he really?
Come on, mate. What's that about?
Lewis is just really making sure there's plenty of content to go on social media. Oh, that's some GTP traffic overlapping with Kel, and, well, Fairweather in the tractor machine was not taking no for an answer.
Yeah, I did want to clarify, by the way. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I have just
Did you just see? Yes? Okay.
Norbert Tamash from second place in GTP. You need to see that from on board.
Yes, no, I may have...
Oh, my God.
I may have had that up on my other computer, and so as soon as...
Oh, wow. That is... Get ready, ladies and gents. This is... I think that was the prime example of missing your braking point into T1.
Here we go. Oh, man.
Is George coming out of pit lane? Woo! Oh, wow.
I mean, George, say thank you to the racing gods, because it does not get much closer than that.
No, that was unbelievably close. Like I say, must have missed him by less than a metre. Oh my God, it's as if like he was trying. It turned into a GTA race for a second, and he was trying to take him out. Oh my goodness!
Okay,
what
wow.
an unfortunate moment for Norbert Tamas.
And that shows as well, in these GTP cars where you're trying to balance the hybrid regeneration with braking potential and actually slowing the car down, it can be so trivial in a bumpy braking zone to make a mistake like that. We saw it in IMSA esports as well at places like Sebring when the front brakes start to lock and drivers just run the front end straight with understeer. I mean, as much as it was amusing for us to watch, it was also something I think we can all somewhat appreciate.
I mean, we saw Casey Cohen miss his braking point quite significantly at Road Atlanta in the start, and he bumped into the back of someone and then spun around. So even the very best can make
just
those
not like
kinds
that.
of mistakes. Not. I mean, the thing is, the speed, as Casey Cohen, by the way, pits, the speed that Tamas hit the barrier, that's insane.
Has Casey done it as well? Casey's trying to figure out where he needs to stop.
No, he's stopping at pole position. It's right at the end. I
mean, yeah, it should be easy for him, but he's just cheating. Right. He's minimizing the distance.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, but this is the thing is that it's not. You know, when you're not doing like the IMSA Esports Championship, you can afford to just drive through everyone. I would do. I do the same. I'm do the same,
don't you?
Of course I do. That's a tenth of a second right there.
So I think we're going to see a new race leader. Yes, there comes the interestingly livery number 3 to take the lead with 12 minutes to go. Kerwin's stationary for 11.4 seconds, and so he's going to come back out in second spot. Remarkable.
Yep, indeed, and has to close down on Lenny Peppenton, but let's be honest, with Lenny running 109.9s on the previous lap. Oh, as actually Isaac Fairweather will work his way past. The two ahead will be in pit lane. I've got absolutely no doubt. Whilst, yeah, again, it is possible for them to reach the checker flag, I think the pace they're running indicates they're not fuel saving.
No, I think you're right. I don't think there's been too many cars that have had opportunities to fuel save either. I think LMP2, we are still thinking fuel save for them though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know Dan Kell is absolutely saving fuel. You know, I watched him do the previous race, and I know that he is definitely on a fuel save strat. In fact, if we ride on board with Babieri here, and let's have a listen in coming down to this braking zone. Yeah.
That's a good 220 meters of fuel saving.
Yeah, this is definitely a no-stop strategy coming in from the 12 car, which is, again, not a shock. So, yeah.
And traffic's opened it up. It's 3 seconds back up to Kel now, and so I think it's just the stragglers in the GTPs. Remember, GTPs, LMP2s, not that different in terms of speed, really. And so, especially a track like this, there's the Sancho car, there's the 14 of Jake Puddock that has lost a about 2.5 seconds to the number 20. There's still some time for the gaps to be made up there. I see Matthew Roberts is now down to pit lane. Matthias Kraus in the GTPs as well. All of the GTDs have finished up their pit stops. We haven't really talked too much about them, so let's at least run through the podium as it stands right now, where Rasmus Thompson leads by almost 2 full seconds over Conrad Senbert, who leapfrogged Miguel Fonseca in the pit stop window.
Fonseca's not that far behind. That's the important bit. I mean, the R rate of Fonseca is only a second back. You can see it there, running its way through the back end of the circuit. And when you've lost out through the pit stop, you're more determined to work his way past. I was going to say, is that some anime on the side?
I was going to wait for you to comment on it.
It definitely is. It definitely is. And so for that, you, sir, lose a lot of bonus points.
Does he?
Absolutely. I'm sorry, if you're going to stick any of that on your car. No, God.
Pepinto down to pit lane, by the way, so he's definitely not fuel saving. We are very familiar with Miguel Fonseca's Japanese interest for his liveries on Tuesday nights in the Precision Racing League. However, for this season, for this year, what he's done is he's added a bit of Mexican flair, and so usually I'd agree with you, Lewis, but at least here I'm going to give him some kudos for going out of the norm and adding some Mexican flair to what would otherwise be a very boring livery.
No, what I will say is you lose 10 points of respect for all of that on the side of the car, but you gain at least 3 back for the Mexican side of it, because it's different. I've not seen that, but overall you lose the 7 points. I'm sorry.
Does he have a RaceSpot logo on there?
Oh, that could be a few points back.
Left quarter panel.
Is it actually a RaceSpot logo?
It is. I'm pretty sure.
All right. You get a few points. Yeah, it is. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you get a few points back then. All right.
There we go.
A few points. A couple back.
Just a couple. I mean, that makes
second place.
Makes his car a little bit faster as well, so we'll see how they go. There's Casey Kerwin directly behind them, by the way, looking up the inside of Fairweather, yet to come down pit lane. This is for the lead now, because it is just Fairweather, it is just Quentin Dupuis that is yet to make their stop in the GTP class, and I think we are still assuming that the number 2 is going to make his way down the lane.
Yeah, exactly. And can we just say, give a little bit of a shout out in the GTPs to Torsten Ulrich, who was running at the back end of the top 10 and qualified, like 9th or whatever, and was kind of struggling his way back up the order. At this point, I think he's going to be running 3rd.
You're not wrong.
There you go. And it's just all like, how he done that? He pitted a bit earlier than everyone else and just timed it right.
Yeah.
He's pretty good, Torsten Ulrich.
Not bad.
Whoa.
That's a lunge from Kerwin. Squeezed by Fairweather, who almost runs himself into the wall on the exit. It's going to be the long way around for Kerwin, surely not going to force it, backs out eventually, spools up the hybrid, GTD traffic in front of them. It's a run down into the penultimate corner.
Yeah, Denzel Clarkson will get out of the way on the left-hand side. The defensive line's being taken from Fairweather as they work their way to the end of the backstretch. The up and under coming here from Casey Kerwin as he tries to get the inside for the 2nd consecutive lap into the hairpin. He doesn't want to be on the inside on the exit of the hairpin in case Fairweather comes into the pit lane, because, yeah, you'll go down there with him. Is this going to be the time to enter pit lane for Fairweather? It is not. Surely Fairweather's not doing the no stop. Surely not.
Should we listen in?
If he was doing it, let's listen.
Oh my goodness! That's partially why Kerwin's having so many opportunities to look.
This is what I was going to say, was that if he was fuel saving that much, then surely Casey would have already have passed. Alas, clearly not. Casey needs to get better, clearly.
The Cadillac did get a little bit of a nerf in the BOP from iRacing in the last build, so maybe a little less strong in a straight line than it has been in the past. 3 wide, let's be smart. Kerwin's going to go for it. Fairweather gives him just enough room. Still alongside. 2nd lap around, on the run into the back straight.
Yeah, the up and under is not going to happen. Oh, there's a crash between the pair of them. Casey Kerwin and Fairweather come together. Fairweather has entered the barrier. And you've got to say, in all of that, who's to blame? Was that Casey maybe trying to get a little bit too aggressive on the outside? Maybe he should have gone for an up and under. Fairweather was there. Contact between the pair of them. Once they'd made contact, they were basically glued together. Little bit early maybe on the turn in there from Casey.
It's a corner where running 2 cars through at racing lines is very, very difficult. I have no idea.
Well, thankfully, there's no race control for this, and...
well, you say that. There is afterwards. iRacing's also updated the race control system so they can do post-race penalties and stuff, which is quite interesting. I'll just be honest in saying I have no idea how it works. What I do know is Fairweather, if he was trying a no pit stop strategy, that officially has come to an end.
Which is a shame, because I think, I mean, look, the thing is, if he was trying to go for a no-stop, he was guaranteed second place, right?
Yes.
Guaranteed second place. And now he is going to probably be losing iRacing. There is no fast repair in this series, as far as I remember. Well, there's definitely not. It's an A-class series. We'll once again take a look. Obviously, Casey's super aggressive down the inside. Not really any problem with that. It's just down here, trying to hang it around the outside. If I'm Casey, I'm thinking this is quite a risky thing to try and go around the outside here. I would want to go for the up and under. From that angle, from the onboard, I don't want to be that guy. It does feel like Casey's turned in a little bit too early.
I think the thing is, Casey had tried the undercut the lap before,
it didn't
right?
Work, yeah.
And it didn't work. So maybe he was trying the outside. I do agree with you, though, in that I don't think that's a move that you want to make. It's a move in the real world, let's be honest. You're not putting your car in that position.
Yeah, exactly. This is like trying to go around the outside. At that corner of all corners, like there are a lot of walls that are hit around this circuit. That one on the outside, just by normal driving, I feel that one is hit probably the most.
Yes.
By people locking up and then running into it, because that tyre barrier sticks out a lot further than you kind of like you're ready for. So trying to go around the outside there, it's not the place to try it.
Without a shadow of a doubt, but I think
he's still going to win.
He's still going to win. He got lucky in terms of the way that the damage played out, because it was definitely fair weather that got the worst of it, and he has not left the pit lane, if you were wondering. Over to the GTDs, where there is a bit of damage for Rasmus Thompson, at least on the front end of the Audi. The hood doesn't seem to necessarily be buckled in the way that you'd want, and so Conrad Senbert's taken advantage to close, brought Miguel Fonseca with him with 3.5 minutes to go. Not sure where Kerwin is on the lap. He's coming out of the final corner, so there should be still 3 laps to go, I do believe, as Casey Kerwin's down to pit lane again.
Wow. So maybe the damage that he's got is maybe it's too great. Maybe he has got a little bit too much, and maybe it's a required repair. Unknown. But Casey Kerwin could be handing the race victory here to Lenny Pepinter, who I believe will almost certainly pass. So a big shame there for Casey Kerwin, as he'll come to a stop in his box. And if it is a required repair, he will be stationary for quite a long time. And may end up losing quite a bit of iRating from all of that. So really, was it worth it? Lenny Pepinter will take over the race lead.
It is indeed a meatball, I can confirm that. And so 16 seconds and counting, you have to say it's probably done.
It's gonna be minutes.
It's probably done for Kerwin, and that will mean, like you say, a loss of 100 iRating. It's an awful way to think about things, right? In terms of a move that might lose you 100 iRating, but it is unfortunately sometimes the way that you have to race some of these public races. It's just why we love someone like Casey, who's going to go for it. He's not going to care about it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's looking at the incident now on his stream, so he's taking a look. I've obviously got no idea. I can't listen to what he's doing because I'm too busy listening to you. Useless.
You multitask all the time. Come on.
I can't listen. No, I am multitasking. I'm already watching the golf. I can't do that.
Oh, what golf is on?
The Century Open, mate.
I just got you distracted about golf. There we go.
Yeah, exactly. I got an eagle today, mate.
Did you really?
My first eagle.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
On the video game.
No.
No, okay.
How dare you? 60 yards out, 60-degree wedge, bang, straight
wow.
in the hole.
Oh, I mean, I've got to give you some even more credit there.
Thank you. I was very impressed with myself. Absolutely no one watching this cares at all. And I also don't care that you don't care.
That's what the beauty of golf is. These drivers should have 2 to go, I do believe, as they come back towards the line. I think, honestly, Thompson might have enough to hold off the Porsche behind, who's looking to try and use the draft of the car in front, but not going to be able to take advantage as the GTP slides on through as well.
Yeah, indeed. Like I say, plenty more to happen in this race, but realistically, the closest fight that we've had is in the category that we've talked about the least. Not too much has happened in the GTD category, but now it is wide open, and it's going to be fascinating to see how this one unfolds. I think for the most part, it's going to come down to traffic. It's going to be, right place, right time for them, and that's going to be the issue. Coming through the final corner now to start the final lap is Lenny Pepinter. So you'll know that this group, the GTs, they'll have a couple of laps to battle this one out.
Yep, here we go to the line. White flag should be in the hand of Barney, and we have seen so much chaos over the years at this track in real and virtual spheres. Are we going to be in for a bit of a treat? Traffic is separated out Senbert from Thompson, so they will actually only have the 1 more lap to go at the end of this one, and more pressure being applied from Fonseca in the fight for second, round the hairpin for the penultimate time.
Yeah, going to try and line this one up to make something happen down into T1. Again, it'll be the last time for them to dive it down there, but I do believe the drive off from Conrad Sember has been plenty enough to keep Fonseca behind, and Fonseca, he's not going to get an opportunity now. It's about trying to make something maybe on the backstretch down into that final sector, but I don't see it.
It's been an interesting one, hasn't it? I mean, 45 started. I think we're going to have about 36 actually finished. Many of those not actually on the leading lap by any means, and the drama at the front, I think, going to be the main story of the race.
It's not been boring. I think that's the important bit. It's been an exciting race. It's been very enjoyable, and I've loved being in the booth. I'm not going to lie.
It's been a good one. We thought maybe a no-stop strategy would come out on top. It will in the other classes, but in the GTP, staying out of trouble is all it took for Lenny Pepinter. Plenty of drama along the way, and he wins to kick off 2024 in the IMSA iRacing Online Sports Car Championship in its GTP class. Cadillac reigns supreme, and directly behind him, flashing the lights as well, lights a flag victory for Thomas Barbieri in the LMP2 Dallara P217, conquering Dan Kell by almost 3 seconds at the line. Here comes the GTD winner as well. Rasmus Thompson will grab first. Conrad Sembert's going to hold on to second, with Miguel Angel Fonseca directly on his heels. Like you said, couldn't necessarily take your eyes away from this one.
No, exactly. It's an exciting race. To be fair, I will say, of all of the races, which is actually very few that I've commentated around Laguna Seca. In fact, actually,
Laguna Seca?
Long Beach, it's fine. Do you know what? This is a fun fact. This is a bit of trivia for you. The first ever race that I ever commentated in sim racing was around Long Beach.
Was it?
And
really?
It was terrible. It's actually one of the better races I've ever commentated around Long Beach.
Well, was your first race terrible because you were also just starting commentary?
A bit of that. Also, it was I think it was like a 12-car field that ended up finishing with 4 finishes, and it was an hour and a half long in Formula Renault 3.5s and a different place. It was terrible. It was honestly awful. But I'm pretty sure a guy called Patrick DeWitt won, if I remember correctly.
That does not sound like a pleasant introduction into the world of broadcasting by any means.
God, no.
Look from up above at the International City. We'll take a look at the race results, starting with the GTP's 8 seconds. The margin of victory, pair of Cadillacs up top with Lenny Pepinter in front of Thorsten Ulrich, who used the early pit stop to his advantage to cycle up a whole handful of positions. Jack Booster started down in 12th position, finishes up in 3rd, the final podium finisher, and the best of the Porsches with Dominic Gumpler and then Quentin Dupuis directly behind. Matthew Roberts in the Ferrari, not Cadillac, is 6th for him. And then plenty of George moments along the way as George Brabner grabs 7th, Casper de Court, and then Matthias Kraus and Niels Backhaus through the rest of the top 10. 11th, the way of Casper Umanen with Neil de Backer, Casey Kerwin, and then Isaac Fairweather, Norbert Tamas, Noah Rail, Christopher DeMay, Giuseppe Guarino, and Luca Morelli. The 19 GTP cars that took to the starting formation. Not as many of the LMP2s, of course, and most of them on the leading lap. 2.5 seconds, the margin between Barbieri and Kell at the end, with Jake Puddock sliding backwards in the closing stages. Dan Ferren 4th, with Martin de Jong saying it was quite stressful in our YouTube chat, and great for the team to grab 3rd, 4th, and 5th positions. Lucas Poppel, and then Lukas Pavlovsky, Matt Kindig, Jose Skug, and then Josu Azogaray through the top 10 in the LMP2 class. Just 2 more names, Razon Hera and Mays, unfortunately not seeing it all the way to the end in the case of the number 36. Last but not least, in the GTD class, Audi reigns supreme after winning in the first round. It's back on top here in the 4th round of the championship with Rasmus Thompson 1.5 seconds clear of Conrad Senbert, with Miguel Angel Fonseca behind in 3rd. Philip Bereswell in the ATRS machines works his way forward to 4th with Christopher Pace, Jose Herrero, Chris Ferragonio, Guilherme Hamling, Stefano Narcisi, and Denzel Clarkson through your top 10. Still a handful more cars, of course, plenty of them with damage and not seeing the end. Jamie Nuttall, Kevin Gouchard, Liam Giles, and Dendelo David, the 14 of those GTD entries. So that was a look top to bottom at the race results, and we stay in the US going to the next week of the championship, Lewis, but we cross coasts to upstate New York and make our way to Watkins Glen.
Yeah, it'll be a different form of chaos there, because obviously the slipstream takes full effect, and that does generally cause its fair share of problems, which, to be fair, I'm okay with. I love myself a little bit of Watkins Glen. It's an exciting track. It's going to be something very, very different, and I'll be interested to watch.
The thing I'm honestly not quite sure about is whether we're using the bus stop chicane or not.
No idea.
And that's an important question, Lewis, as we found out in IMSA Esports.
I'm pretty sure it will be bus stop and boot. Surely.
Surely? I mean,
surely.
It couldn't be more chaotic than this week, could it?
Well, I mean, to be fair, part of me, just because I love seeing chaos, I'd like it to not run the boot and not run the bus stop either, just so you're going into the carousel with ridiculous speed. That would be hilarious. The only time I've ever done that was when the MP430 was new. And that, I think the first official races were around there was around Watkins Glen. It was with the boot, but it was without the bus stop.
So
That's quite good fun.
I've done that in the Indy cars before. My problem was I put too much radiator on the car, which meant that halfway through the race I had a GP2 engine moment and it blew up.
10 out of 10, mate.
You can watch that on my YouTube channel if you want to. I would not recommend it though. It wasn't a good memory, Lewis. It wasn't a good memory.
Yeah, just give me shout-outs to your YouTube.
I mean, we gave plenty of shout-outs to channels all across the board. Let's talk about the schedule, though, because, of course, after Watkins Glen, it's what I think everyone's looking forward to. I'm sure our coverage of Friday Night Primetime from Daytona International Speedway is going to set SOF records, and I think we know for sure as well the Daytona 24-hour race is going to do so as well. And that's just the first half of the season, Lewis, before we head to the second-best track in the world, to the Nordschleife.
Yeah, indeed. I'm going to have to barge my way back in, I think, for Daytona. I'm very curious to see. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to. No, honestly, it's a great calendar. A lot of interesting tracks. I think quite a lot of people will go and do the Nordschleife because, let's be honest, taking the GTPs around there and actually being able to race them around there is going to be exciting. Mugello's obviously a great track new for this season. Aragon, I think, will be pretty dead, just going to say. Obviously, everyone likes a little bit of Gilles Villeneuve and... hey, but Silverstone to end, why not?
It's not bad, is it? It's not a bad schedule.
It's an alright schedule.
And then, of course, I think it basically builds towards the real meat of the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship as well, and so we'll line up plenty of the dates with that. But Long Beach, always a treat, and, well, it couldn't have been more different from our trip through the French countryside, stepping from the Circuit de la Sarthe onto the streets of Long Beach. But this IMSA iRacing Online Sports Car Championship continues to deliver. And in the virtual world, we can take the show around the world. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you in 7 days' time. But for the team at RaceSpot, for Lewis McLeod, alongside myself, Arjuna Kankipati, thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you in a week's time for more great racing on Friday Night Primetime.